Ma'am, step away from that table. You don't have access to this floor. Imagine checking into a hotel after a 12-hour journey, finally reaching the executive lounge you paid extra for, and before you can even sip your drink, someone decides you don't belong there, not because of your reservation, not because of a mistake, but because of how you look. Nia Collins had just placed her carry-on beside the leather chair when the voice cut through the soft piano music of the lounge. Calm, sharp, certain. She looked up slowly. The lounge was quiet. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, guests murmuring over champagne. This was supposed to be the reward at the end of a long week. She had booked the executive package herself. No upgrades, no favors, just a quiet space to breathe. If you've ever been judged in a place you earned, tap like, subscribe, or comment what time you're watching this, because this story starts exactly where patience runs out. The man standing over her wore a tailored navy suit and a gold name badge that read Grant Holloway, Guest Relations Manager. His polite smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm sorry," Nia said evenly. Grant gestured vaguely around the room. "This lounge is reserved for executive guests, suites only." Nia didn't flinch. "I know. I'm in suite 1804. Grant's smile thinned. He scanned her. Simple black slacks, white blouse, flat shoes. No labels screaming wealth, no designer bag on display, just quiet confidence. "I'll need to see proof," he said. Nia blinked once. Around them, conversation softened. People listened without looking obvious. "Proof," she repeated, "of my reservation?" "Yes," Grant said, crossing his arms. "We've had issues, people wandering into restricted areas." That word lingered. People. Nia reached into her bag and handed over her phone, reservation pulled up clearly. Grant glanced at it for less than a second before handing it back. "This could be fake," he said flatly. Something shifted then, not anger, but awareness. "This is a confirmed booking. You're welcome to verify it at the desk." Grant sighed loudly, like she was exhausting him. "Let's not make this difficult. I'll escort you back to the main lobby where you'll be more comfortable." More comfortable. A woman nearby paused mid-sip. A man lowered his newspaper. "I'm not moving," she said. Her voice never rose. "I paid for this access." Grant's jaw tightened. "You're becoming disruptive." "I'm sitting," she said. "You approached me." He leaned closer, lowering his voice, but not enough. "People notice when someone doesn't fit the atmosphere. I'm trying to help you save face." That was it. Nia reached for her phone again, this time turning on the camera. Not dramatic, just steady. "Can you repeat what you just said?" she asked. Grant stiffened. "Turn that off," he snapped. "Why, if you're helping me?" A few phones around the room suddenly lifted. Grant's composure cracked. He slapped the phone out of her hand. It clattered across the marble floor, the sound echoing louder than it should have. Gasps rippled through the lounge. "You do not record staff, especially not when you're trespassing." Nia stood slowly. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but restraint. "You do not touch my property again." Grant grabbed her wrist. "I said you're leaving." If you've ever watched authority abuse power and everyone pretended not to see it, pause right here and comment where you're watching from, because what happens next only unfolds when silence breaks. Before Nia could respond, a voice, calm, controlled, unmistakably authoritative, cut through the room. "Release her." Grant froze. Every head turned toward the entrance of the lounge. A woman stood there in a charcoal blazer, security badge clipped neatly, eyes sharp and unblinking. She took one step forward. "That guest," she said evenly, "is my sister." Grant's hand dropped instantly. The room went silent, and just like that, the balance of power shattered. The silence in the executive lounge wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy, pressed tight against every chest in the room.
Grant Holloway took a step back as if the floor beneath him had shifted. His mouth opened, then closed again. The confidence he'd worn minutes ago drained from his face, replaced by something thin and panicked. "Your sister?" he said finally, forcing a laugh that didn't convince anyone. "I'm just enforcing policy." The woman in the charcoal blazer didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "My name is Avery Collins, Chief Operations Officer of the Collins Meridian Hotel Group." A murmur rolled through the lounge like a low wave. Avery turned her gaze slowly, deliberately, letting it pass over every guest who had watched in silence. Then she focused back on Grant. "And you," she continued, "just assaulted a registered executive guest, on camera, in a restricted area monitored by security." Grant swallowed hard. "There's been a misunderstanding." "No," Naya said quietly, "there hasn't." Avery held up one finger, stopping him from speaking. "Security," she said into her earpiece. "Executive lounge, immediately." Grant's eyes darted around the room, searching for support that no longer existed. The same guests who had avoided eye contact earlier now watched openly, some with shock, others with something closer to shame. "I didn't know who she was. If I had known—" "That," Avery interrupted sharply, "is the problem." She stepped closer, her voice still controlled but edged with steel. "You shouldn't need to know who someone is to treat them with basic respect." Two security officers arrived within seconds, positioning themselves just behind Grant. Avery turned to Naya, her expression softening for the first time. "Are you hurt?" Naya glanced down at her wrist, already faintly red. "I'm fine." Grant scoffed weakly. "This is being blown out of proportion." That was his last mistake. Avery looked at him then, really looked, and the room felt smaller for it. "You questioned her presence without cause. You dismissed valid proof. You implied she didn't fit the atmosphere. You struck her phone, and then you put your hands on her." She turned slightly to one of the guards. "Escort Mr. Holloway to Human Resources. His access is revoked, effective immediately." Grant's head snapped up. "You can't fire me on the spot." Avery didn't blink. "I own the spot." The words landed like a final verdict. As security took hold of him, his composure finally broke. "This is ridiculous. She provoked me." A woman seated near the window stood up. "No, she didn't." Another guest nodded. "You were out of line from the start." Grant's protests grew louder as he was led toward the exit, his authority stripped away with every step. The lounge doors closed behind him with a soft, final click. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Avery turned back to the room. "I apologize," she said clearly, her voice carrying. "What you witnessed today does not reflect our values, and it will be addressed." She looked at the guests who had watched quietly. "All of you will receive a formal apology and a full report." Then she turned to Naya. "I'm sorry it took this long," Avery said softly. "I didn't need saving. I just needed him to stop." Avery nodded. "And now he has." If you believe accountability should be public when harm is public, hit like, subscribe, and comment whether you've ever witnessed something like this, because stories like this only change things when people talk. Later, as the lounge slowly returned to its quiet hum, Naya sat back down. A staff member approached with a fresh drink, hands trembling slightly. "I'm so sorry, ma'am," she said. Naya smiled gently. "Thank you." From across the room, Avery watched her sister, calm, dignified, unbroken, not because of who she was related to, but because she refused to being diminished. Somewhere between the clink of glasses and the return of soft piano music, the truth settled into the room. Belonging isn't granted by appearances. Power doesn't excuse cruelty. And the moment someone decides who fits, they reveal exactly who doesn't. The lounge doors opened again, this time not for removal, but for understanding. And this time, no one looked away.